I use randomness a lot, which I think life is random, I think, a lot of the time. And things happen randomly, but in fact, even with random, there is a system there. For instance, if I lay out a colour scheme, I often have a predetermined system initially, but having worked that out, I will then place the colours randomly within that system. And strangely enough, or funnily enough, the overall effect will be harmonious. And I think there's something to be learned from that I think if we are doing things randomly as we think, but that over, the coherence comes to it in an overall way. I enjoy drawing and painting, and by extension, I suppose, I enjoy making things. And whether it's cutting dowels or gold leafing dowels or cutting paper, folding paper, all the time it's with my hands. And I think that's important for me, and it's important for me to know that the viewer sees that as well, that it's handmade. If people look at the work and they see my craft, or they can see that, they can see the making in it, they can see the brush strokes, or they can see the gold leaf, they can see the wood. So they can see that me or the artist has been involved in that in a very physical way. I work to music, and I also try and incorporate music into my work. The emotions that I get from music, you're trying to get that coming out of the work that you produce, and also the rhythms and the tones, from minimalists, from Philip Glass to could be Irish music, world music, jazz. I want to try and get that across visually. It's almost impossible, but what you're trying to do is trying in some way to get rhythms and tones and reproduce in some way a feeling of music in my work. All of those musicians and inform my art.
He doesn't actually reveal very much of himself in it. And that's the thing that I find the most puzzling, actually. And then I started thinking about something I've always been interested in myself, Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks. Leonardo advised artists to study stone walls. Now we're jumping back to 15th century Florence here. But he said to study stone walls because in the stone walls you find everything you need for the imagination. And it is really just about the act of looking, watching the light change, the brickwork, watching the shadows, watching little, nuances of difference, or walking past them and seeing how they change as you move in relation to them. And of course, all of that is what feeds his work.
I think there's a tension all the time between the business side of art and the creative side of art, and you can't do one without the other. There's always that balance to find the time to dream, but yet you have to fund that time. I was always fascinated with 3D design or sculpture and architecture. I might have done that if I hadn't gone to art school. And the more I went down this road, the more I was wishing and hoping that I could enlarge some of the pieces I did and scale them up, because the idea to be able to walk through them or around them. So I was delighted when OMS Architects in Dublin commissioned me to do a very large installation in a new building. 3 stories high, by 10 metres long. That's opened up a whole new world of being able to think in a 3D sculptural, architectural way.
I was exposed to Peter's installation work at One Grand Parade through an article that I wrote for the Irish Arts Review. I'm an architect and an architectural historian, and I suppose I was an obvious choice in that respect. The installation is very architectural, and as we pass by, a lot happens. It's almost a cinematic experience. This comes from the rhythms and cadences that evolve, and there is a very, very strong musical connection to this piece, almost like the graphic notation of a musical composition, really. It could be termed eye music, which is a Renaissance term, and this is music for the eye. There are 12 rows of dowels, and each dowel is turned slightly. So you have an individual turning almost 12 times. And he has titled the piece himself 12 Tones. So that's, a very good indicator of where he's coming from with this whole layering of the sort of musicality of the piece. So you have a lovely intersection of architecture and music. And I think as an architect, what appeals to me, I suppose, is not just his understanding of the architectural quality of the space that he's working in, but that the grid responds to his geometrical working of this. The gold leaf and its reflection has this kinetic quality that you get from a lot of very skillfully masked pieces.
This art appeals hugely to other designers and to architects, and that's not surprising because it comes from Peter's own design background, and it, is influenced by commercial art and by corporate art. The clean, clear-cut, meticulous and stylish.
The installation at the Gibson Hotel is a different experience to One Grand Parade, not just physically, but also conceptually. Here, the installation is made up of meticulously crafted pieces that are coloured, but are also cut in a way that almost donates musical notation, arpeggios, chords, all those things that we associate with a musical score. And he's playing with our senses here. There are cadences and modulations, and there's a rhythm, and there are very significant crescendos at each end as the fillets draw closer and the colour deepens. I can hear a musical piece when I walk through this corridor, and I think Peter wanted us to experience this. For me, the most exciting intervention at the Gibson is the covering of quite an industrial part of the building, which are the substations to the rear of the hotel. It's like a skin, really, for the building. It's part of the cladding. And a few sections were chosen. Peter devised 9 or 10 tones for this intervention, ranging from white to black. So you've got dark metal grey as well in there. And what looks like a very clever, complicated piece is actually randomly chosen. And I think this is the reason why this piece works.
It's that process of doing. It evolves into the it's an ongoing evolution. And sometimes you go up a road or an avenue and it doesn't work out. It's a cul-de-sac, and you have to come back and go off again. But the important thing is to keep doing it. So that's a very enjoyable part of it.
This is very much an art about active looking. And the active looking means that the spectator is there in it themselves, and what they bring is as important as what the artist is giving them. And I like it for that.
If I've developed a style, it's only me trying to find out something from myself. It's almost style as a way of thinking.